You know, Barron was playing tennis with his friends, and somebody walked over and ran over and said, "Your father's been shot. He's been shot, Barron." And Barron really likes his father a lot. And so does Eric, Don, Tiffany, Ivanka, the whole group. But, you know, I've been a good father to the kids.
How is he doing in college?
He's doing great. He's always a great student. Barron's a very good student. He's a tall student also, by the way. Pretty tall student. But he's a great boy. And he came in, Mom, what happened? So, and then they saw me get up, and then they saw the fist bump. You know.
When you saw them for the first time today, again,
Yeah.
since that horrific day, what was that like?
Well, it was amazing. The daughter's beautiful, two young girls, and a beautiful mother. And they're at the bottom of the plane. I get off, and they're the first people I greeted and met. And I knew them from before, of course, from the tragic event. But they're having a hard time. Actually, they're having a very hard time. It was so crazy. The whole thing was just a crazy time, and we had to sort of come back and complete the circle.
In the meantime, I'm hanging out with my mates, Matt Canavan and, of course, Sam Crosby. Now, let's get into American politics here. Now, I have shown a little bit of data before about why I think Trump is in the lead. Last night, I got into some granular detail, that won't surprise anyone, about the polling areas of 2020 that basically said, Biden was winning by this much when he actually ended up winning by this much. So when they're showing ties, then presumably that's going to be good for Trump, right? But who knows? So I'm going to ask you this question every week for the next month or so, which is, Matt, why do you think Trump is winning? Is there a piece of data or just your good old gut that's telling you, no, he's fine?
Well, a lot of it is my gut. I've said this program many times. I just think he's a much better match for the states that are in play, that are important in the Midwest and in Arizona and Nevada. Kamala Harris being a pretty left-wing liberal senator from San Francisco it's a hard sell. The other aspect, but just more quantitative data in the last couple of days, the New York Times, a very, very respected poll, had some interesting analysis that if they weighted their polling based on asking the question, who did you vote for in the last 2020 election, they end up with very large margins of victory in the key states for Donald Trump, much larger than they're predicting currently. So, look, I think the main takeaway from all that is you can't put much weight in the polls, as you've said and described last night. They've been out by a long margin in recent elections, so why would we put too much weight on them today? I don't think there's any evidence they've necessarily corrected those mistakes this time round.
And I've got to say, if you want to walk away from the polls and you start looking at the aggregators or the model makers, now some of them have good pictures for Harris, some of them say that it's a little bit closer. Again, in the betting markets, I can show you one betting market this way and that way. I've chosen Polybet because it's the one we've followed all the way through when things are way up or way down. Sam is a man who'd like Harris to go there. Is there a bit of data that's telling you that she's there, or is it because she's going on Howard Stern this week?
No, look, similar to Matt, I have such a reservation when it comes to data. When you think about how any poll is
You lived 2019 in Australia.
No, but when...
Sorry to trigger you.
That was a low blow. That was a low blow.
Love you.
But when you think about how the data is actually collected and how it involves someone picking up the phone, best case scenario, someone picking up a phone, calling someone again and again and again, it's got a 90-something% rejection rate. You factor that into who the people then are actually answering, generally old people. So the way that pollsters get around that is they weight people disproportionately. So if you get a 18 or 20-year-old or under 30-year-old, you might get one of those. Your sample you'll need 100 of those. So you'll just weight them to a factor of 20 is how they skew that out. And they've been doing this for years. And when you think the number of polls that come in here that are bombarding some pensioner in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Imagine if you lived in one of those
if you live in one of those target states, there are
hook.
literally thousands of campaigns, polling companies, all calling you to ask you what you're doing. You're going to hang up, and that's why I don't look at
polls.
this.
What's given you?
Look, there are a number of sort of large meta questions. There's a 13 keys question that sort of looks at
He's got them all right for decades, and he says Harris.
And which says Harris by a very small number. I don't know. My heart says Harris. My gut says, I don't know.
I may be over soon.
I'm freaking out.
Yeah. Now, Matt, I want to ask a question which you can very well give me a politician's answer and go somewhere else. But you're not a politician who's like that. Political parties, do they have a better insight than the public polling? So say like there'll be a news poll that's out every month, or there'll be a resolve that's out every month. When it's election time, do political parties have weekly data that we don't see, daily data that we don't see?
Typically they have overnight data. I don't know what they do in America. They probably do much more than us, have a lot more money. But here in Australia, typically we'll do what's called a track. The people are polled every night in typically the key seats that you're tracking, and that will be aggregated into a track number. And then more irregularly, you'll look at individual seats on a seat-by-seat basis. Those are very difficult. No, I've never found those to be particularly accurate, the seat-by-seat ones, but the track usually gives you a pretty good indication.